So, who's the strongest character in Tenkaichi 3? Maybe him? Or him? What about them? Or maybe... Isn't she supposed to be broken? Well, she actually is. But to understand what makes her and many other characters broken or not broken, we must first grasp how this game works at an advanced level. Competitive Tenkaichi is played in a 3v3 format on the Dolphin emulator. This is because the Dolphin version, which is the Wii version of Tenkaichi 3, has native online support. This results in a better overall online experience compared to the PS2 version, which relies on third-party software. To play an online match of Tenkaichi 3, you would have to join one of the many Tenkaichi 3 discords and download the specific version of the Dolphin emulator that's been tailor-made for online play. Once you've done that, you're essentially all set. But be warned, competitive Tenkaichi is not for the faint of heart. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the competitive side of Budokai Tenkaichi 3. Huge shout out to Grandmaster Hawk and Paige. Without their help, this video wouldn't be possible. It's a common misconception that all characters play the same in the Tenkaichi series. Well, to some extent, yes, it is true. Two characters can share the same move, but each character must press a different button sequence to perform said move. Certain characters have moves that align better with their fighting style. For instance, Vegeta has the Rush Ki Wave, a combo move that releases an energy beam from his hand. This move is a perfect fit for Vegeta, who is known for being a heavy ki/energy user. The Rush Ki Wave is mostly reserved for characters who like to rely on ki-based attacks. That's why we won't see it on someone like Goku, for example. Trunks is another good example. In his base form and as a Super Saiyan, Trunks has many fast melee attacks. However, when he transforms to grade 3, his attacks become slower, more powerful, but sluggish. He also gains access to a new combo, typically reserved for larger, bulkier fighters, the Rolling Hammer. The Rolling Hammer is a highly effective move for getting behind your opponent, and in this game, positioning yourself behind your opponent and dealing as much damage as possible is kind of the way you want to play. Grade 3 Trunks also has a distinctive combo extension to the Rolling Hammer, known as the Power Press. However, Power Press isn't the only combo extension for the Rolling Hammer. It's just the one that Grade 3 Trunks can use. Broly is another character who can perform the Rolling Hammer, and his combo extension is known as the Rolling Hurricane. See, there are many subtle nuances that differentiate each character. Despite Grade 3 Trunks having a somewhat useful attack that can position you behind your opponent, he is still not competitively viable due to his speed and certain other factors. That's why he consistently ranks near the bottom of the tier lists. But his base and Super Saiyan forms, on the other hand, now these two forms are consistently ranked at the very top. But why is that? What makes these two forms so competitively viable? Well, to put it bluntly, they simply meet all the necessary requirements. Fast melee attacks, explosive wave, a rush super attack with perfect tracking, and this is a big one, the Blaster Wave. Blaster Wave is among the best combo attacks in the game, and characters with access to it are instantly ranked higher on the tier lists. So what makes the Blaster Wave so good? In short, it's non-guardable and immune to sidestepping, and sidestepping is an important evasive mechanic, but Blaster Wave completely counters it. The blast radius is so large that any attempt to dodge becomes futile, and good luck trying to block it. These are the main reasons why these forms are so effective. However, they're not equal. Would you believe that the base form is actually better than the Super Saiyan form? If you've watched any competitive tournaments, you might have noticed base Trunks appearing on many of the teams, whereas his Super Saiyan version is nowhere to be seen. I found that odd because on the surface, their movesets are nearly identical. It all boils down to a few things. Base Trunks has a safe step-in attack. His step-in attack is the Blaster Wave, and we've already gone over why that move is so good. Also, the step-in mechanic in general is quite useful. I'm not sure who needs to hear this, but if you find yourself getting spammed by rush super attacks, especially Kid Buu's rush, a well-timed step-in can help you cancel them out effectively. He also has a better explosive wave, better melee overall, and if you're feeling extra spicy, you can use buff Trunks and then immediately switch back to base form, allowing you to start with 3 key bars in base instead of the usual 2. On top of all that, base Trunks has the highest speed in the game. Yup, but see, there's a good reason behind it. Remember Vegeta's explanation for getting so strong?
I do a lot of push-ups and sit-ups, and I drink plenty of juice.
Vegito wasn't lying there. However, he was missing one vital component that Trunks used to attain that level of speed. What was the secret component, you may ask? Well, it's Factor. Eat stress-free this summer with Factor's delicious, ready-to-eat meals. Every fresh, never-frozen meal is chef-crafted, dietitian-approved, and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. Their team of gourmet chefs crafts each meal with ingredients of the highest quality, ensuring you feel your best throughout the day. I mean, where do you think all those muscles came from? He was eating the really good stuff, the gourmet meals. And with a weekly menu of over 35 meals to choose from, you too can eat meals that are tailor-made to meet your needs. You got calorie smart options, keto, protein plus, vegan, veggie, and many more. Creating a video of this magnitude while trying to keep up with a consistent gym routine and other real-life commitments was definitely a chore. Fortunately for me, Factor came through in a pinch and helped me reduce much of the hassle. But above all else, the food's delicious and everything's just convenient. Alleviate yourself of the stress and treat yourself to something nice by heading over to factor75.com or click the link below and use code KADAZI50 to get 50% off your first Factor box and 20% off your next month of orders. That's code KADAZI50 at factor75.com to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month of orders. Huge shout out to Factor for sponsoring this video. In all seriousness, I'm not exactly sure why Trunks specifically has the highest speed in the game. I don't believe there's any lore reason behind it. Could be just a random decision by the devs. The Dragon Dash cancel is one of the most essential competitive mechanics. There are many variations of the Dragon Dash cancel, ranging from very simple to highly complex. The primary purpose of the DDC is to extend your combos and maximize damage output. And even the most basic version of it can do just that. Without a dash cancel, you would only be able to perform a single heavy smash follow-up before having to extend your combos using vanishing type attacks. However, with dash canceling, you can extend your combos as much as you want, or at least until you run out of ki. The most basic version of the DDC is relatively easy to perform, as you perform either a perfect smash or a regular heavy smash. And just a quick note, while perfect and heavy smashes are the same move, the perfect smash includes a vanish that makes the attack unblockable and helps close the gap between you and the opponent. It also deals more damage than a regular heavy smash. It's a solid move, but it requires precise timing to execute effectively. So yeah, depending on your skill level, you would perform either of the two, with the perfect smash being a much safer option. Once your opponent is sent flying, you want to press X to initiate the Dragon Dash. Now, you need to perform either an Ascend Dash or a Descend Dash to cancel the Dragon Dash. You can do this by quickly double tapping the Ascend or Descend buttons, which are R1 and R2 on a standard PS2 controller layout. And congratulations! You've successfully canceled your Dragon Dash. Now simply launch your Dragon Dash again to finish the whole process. The Dragon Dash cancel will reset your combo, allowing you to start your combos all over again. If your opponent fails to recover after this, you can simply execute another perfect or heavy smash and repeat the process. Fun fact, smaller characters are more effective at Dragon Dash cancels due to their greater speed compared to regular sized characters. However, there are some exceptions. Kid Goku, Chi-Chi, and Burter. Notably, Burter is the only tall character in the game with a high dash speed that also carries over to his Dragon Dash. I guess he really is the fastest in the universe. And here's the most bizarre one, Lord Slug. While his regular dash speed is terrible, his overall Dragon Dash speed is unusually fast. Perhaps an oversight by the dev team? With the introduction of the Dragon Dash cancel mechanic, players began seeking ways to unlock its full potential. And during this period, a certain North American player was on the verge of a major breakthrough. Ladies and gentlemen, give a warm welcome to Grandmaster Hawk, the top Tenkaichi 3 player in North America.
I was just rotating my stick for fun, and then I initiated a Dragon Dash cancel. In this instance, it was the Dragon Descend in order to go downwards, and somehow I ended up behind him. I say somehow because obviously at that time I didn't know. And that was how I discovered the Vortex Dash, probably 2012 if not 2013. Tenkaichi 3 functions on momentum, like actual inertia. Let's say you do a full power smash and then you follow it up with your dash button, which is called a dragon homing. Let's just say that you make it to your opponent, and then you initiate the dragon dash cancel by pressing dragon ascend or dragon descend. Basically, if once you initiate the dragon dash cancel at a certain point and positioning of your dragon dash, the momentum from the cancellation will carry you under or around or what have you to the other side of your opponent, thereby performing a body block. At the time that I invented it, I would say that everyone in the community absolutely loved the Vortex Dash. Not that people don't love it now, but I would say that it's valued a little bit less because of because how much the competitive scene is more focused on resets and like at the after image meta and other things like that. I think it is still a very significant part of the game today. A lot of North American players still use it. I even still see quite a few Italian players use it, and I sometimes once in a while see South American players using it. But other than that, I would say that nowadays it doesn't have as much value, but if you're someone who's just playing the game to have fun and not necessarily trying to win, I would say it still has plenty of value.
When it comes to dashing, these are the essentials. From a competitive or high-level standpoint at least, there are also several other advanced dash movements such as Paige's Scythe Dash, an exceptionally stylish maneuver that was actually discovered quite recently, specifically in October 2021. To quote Paige, this maneuver allows for better positioning compared to the classic maneuvers while also featuring a way for faster recovery. Combining repositioning and getting out of the step in barrier, it allows for brand new -1 setups for many characters. Unfortunately, according to the man himself, this maneuver can't be considered meta, since it's way less effective than standard -1 setups. It essentially demands extremely precise timing, and the rewards for successfully executing it are just not worth the effort. Still, it remains one of the most satisfying maneuvers to witness in action. Now, covering every variation of dash canceling and manipulation could warrant its own video. To keep this video from getting any longer, I'll just drop these videos here for those curious to learn more. They're done by Paige as well as Hawk. All of these dash maneuvers, complex as they may seem, are essentially a dash cancel executed in a very calculated manner. That doesn't mean they're simple to master. Nope. Far from it actually. From what I understand, these two are the most advanced form of dash cancelling, and you won't find many people using them. See, most people like to use the Vortex Dash because you can easily maneuver behind the opponent, avoiding the risk of your attack being blocked. After all, they can't block attacks from behind now, can they? However, getting behind your opponent isn't the only way to safely extend your combos. There's also a method to extend your combos safely while facing the enemy head on. Do you guys remember Perfect Smash and the regular Ascend Dash cancel? Yeah, it's time to combine them. By using the Ascend or Descend buttons to cancel the Dragon Dash, our character would stop moving while still being relatively close to the opponent. Now, you need to act fast or the opponent will be out of reach. Right after canceling the Dragon Dash, hold the attack button to time your Perfect Smash. If done correctly, you'll teleport right in front of the opponent and send them flying again. If you're feeling spicy, you can repeat this combo again and again, all the way up until you run out of ki or mess up. Executing this combo requires practice and muscle memory. It's relatively easy to perform in training mode since your opponent is just a dummy that doesn't move or fight back. However, pulling it off in a real match against skilled players can be challenging, especially considering that the timing for the Perfect Smash isn't universal. Characters are divided into several groups, and each group has its own unique timing. Huge shout out to Hawk for providing this info. I had no idea the timing wasn't universal, but it does explain a few things. I always suspected that some characters executed their perfect smashes faster than others. I'm glad to know I wasn't just imagining it. Raging Blast has universal timing for each character, which makes mastering the perfect smash timing much less frustrating. I wouldn't be surprised if Sparking Zero opts for the same approach. There's also one more niche use of the perfect smash that is kind of impractical to use, but it it makes for some good clip-worthy moments if pulled off successfully. Suppose the opponent notices you're charging a heavy smash. Rather than trying to run away or dodge, they decide to punish you with a blast to super attack. In most cases, you would be on the losing end in this situation. You can't dodge, can't vanish to the side, no utility move can save you outside of Wild Sense or After Image. And I don't have neither of the two activated in this situation. And yet, I still managed to dodge the Big Bang attack. How did I do it? Well folks, you may not have realized this, but a perfect smash can phase through super attacks. It's very situational, impractical, and unsafe to rely on for dodging or punishing super attacks. But it can create some montage-worthy moments. Giants are a staple of the Tenkaichi games. It's rare to find playable giant-type characters in a DBZ game that isn't part of the Tenkaichi series. For a first-time attempt at adapting playable giant-type characters, they did a decent job. Sure, they're slow and a bit clunky to play, but that doesn't mean they're not fun. Recently, I had an online match where my opponent transformed into a Great Ape because we were playing on a night stage. I immediately followed suit, and what started as a relatively competitive match turned into a laid-back, fun session. So yeah, giants are very fun to play when you're up against other giant types. However, as soon as we face regular-sized characters, that's where things start to get more frustrating. Their sluggishness is offset by the fact that they have super armor, which works well against early to mid-Z characters, as giants can tank several attacks before starting to stagger. But even in those situations, the flaws in their playstyle were starting to become apparent. While they require at least 3 to 4 regular hits to stagger, they can still be instantly staggered by a charged heavy smash. Dodging a heavy smash isn't a major issue for regular fighters. A simple sidestep or a quick step in usually does the trick. However, thanks to those big-ass hitboxes the giants have, sidestepping isn't an option as the opponent's attack will always connect, and you can forget about doing a step in because giants don't have them. You might think things aren't too bad since they still have super armor. Well, allow me to show you a scenario where that super armor, the one single thing they had going for them, breaks. Once a character surpasses what I like to call the Super Saiyan 3 power threshold, they gain the ability to break through super armor with a single punch. However, there are some inconsistencies with this threshold rule. Notable exceptions include Ultimate Gohan, Super Buu, Nova Shenron, and a few others who, despite arguably being more powerful than Super Saiyan 3, still require 2 or more punches to break the armor. But unfortunately for the giants, most of the top tier characters surpass the SS3 power threshold and can easily bully them. However, it's not all bad for the giants. There's one unique giant type fighter who not only does them justice, but also dominates over 90% of the roster. Baby's first and second forms aren't all that special. They do have those annoying finger bullets that can be a pain to deal with sometimes, but overall, there's nothing noteworthy about them. Super Baby 2 is somewhat better than the first two forms, mainly due to his increase in speed and a decent power boost, which nearly allows him to break super armor with a single punch. He's another one of those SS3 power threshold victims. Despite being stronger than an SS3 in terms of lore, he still can break the armor with just one hit, like other SS3 tier characters can. Now, Grade A Baby is a different story. He's not only much faster than the other giants, but he also has the strongest melee options. He has a blaster wave at the beginning of his combo string, allowing you to execute it easily without much thought. And as we've seen with Trunks, blaster wave is something you want to have in your moveset. He also shares the highest defense in the game with Broly. On top of that, he also has a -1 setup with his gigantic flame. A -1 setup refers to a combo setup that becomes unvanishable when the proper conditions are met. A good example of a -1 setup would be Nova Shenron. Begin by striking your opponent with a flying kick, then quickly follow up with an ascending Ki Blast barrage while holding down to drift backward a bit. Follow this with another Ki Blast barrage to maximize the damage, and finish with Nova's burst attack, and boom! 12k damage is guaranteed. Making her attacks unvanishable is incredibly valuable in a game where nearly everything can be evaded with a perfectly timed input, and that's one of the main reasons why Nova is in the S+ tier. That, and he also has good dash speed, effective melee tools, and even an explosive wave for emergencies. Coincidentally, the strongest character in the show is arguably the weakest in the game, at least among the playable GT characters. Both his base and Omega forms are closely placed in the A tier, and despite Baby's many strengths, being a giant means his speed will always be a significant disadvantage. That's why he falls in the A+ tier. Ki blasts are fundamental to Tenkaichi 3's gameplay, and the type of ki blast a character has can greatly affect their competitive viability. They are primarily used to keep your opponent in check, and when executed correctly, can even lock them in one place, preventing any movement or reaction. You can also use them to maximize damage output, but their greatest utility lies in controlling and limiting your opponent's actions. Your opponent wants to charge their ki? Just send in a few ki blasts in their direction. They want to launch their super or ultimate? Just send in a few ki blasts. They want to use a utility move? You get it by now. That's their most fundamental function, serving as a form of disruption. But if we take it a step further, we can use their disruptive properties to completely immobilize the enemy. Here we see a coaching match between Paige and Gas01. Gas was trying to charge his ki, most likely to gather enough for his explosive Madan, a powerful move that alone propels adult Super Saiyan Gohan into the S tiers. But more about that in a little bit. Safe to say, Paige wasn't having it. He performed a regular dash, then promptly cancels the dash animation with a quick press of the descent button and fires a single ki blast. He does the same thing immediately after, but this time performs an ascended cancel and fires 2 ki blasts instead of 1. Once he was close enough, he fired a charged ki blast and then proceeded to flank Gas's Gohan from behind. If you look at this from Gas's POV, we can see how Paige forced him to stay on guard and remain stationary. All the while, Paige was getting closer and closer. If Gas had tried to run away, Paige's ki blasts would have easily hit him. And this is just one example of how to use ki blasts to lock your opponents in place. The official name of this tech is ki poking. Now, you'll notice that I briefly mentioned Paige flanking Gas's Gohan from behind. You see, flanking is one of the most basic movement maneuvers to perform, and there are many ways to go about it. When you cancel your dash with an ascent or descend, your character won't stop in place but will be propelled a few frames forward. The momentum you gain from the dash will carry you in the direction of the dash. This allows us to use an ascent or descend cancel on our dash at the right moment to easily get behind the opponent and flank them. The faster your character's dashing speed is, the more seamless the flank becomes. A simple yet effective maneuver. But you know what isn't simple? The dash ki flank. The dash ki flank is a highly advanced maneuver that leaves your opponent with little to no breathing room. You begin by dashing directly at the opponent while pressing triangle to keep them locked in place. Once you're right in their face, you need to, get this, deflect. Performing a deflect animation will cancel the ki blast spam. And now, by pressing triangle immediately after, if done correctly, you'll end up right behind the opponent, spamming them with another volley of ki blasts. As with any competitive tech covered in this video, I also had to perform it a few times to grasp how it works. And man, it was rough. My success rate for every 10 attempts was 1. The timing on that deflect cancel is so tight, it's hard to believe anyone can pull it off on a consistent basis. Out of curiosity, I went on to ask Hawk if the dash ki flank is something that people can pull off consistently, and this man essentially said, yes. But he did preface that it's only performed by people who play consistently. And by consistently, he means it's all they play. There was a story of a player from Mexico who recently stopped playing. But get this, before he stopped, he was playing Tenkaichi 3 exclusively for a period of 2 years. Imagine playing a single game for a period of 2 years without ever switching up. I guess the memes really are true. Latin American fans really do live and breathe Dragon Ball. So yeah, if you want to pull off the dash ki flank on a consistent basis, you will have to dedicate a good portion of your time to this game. Much of the tech I showcased in this video is largely universal, meaning most characters can use it. Granted, some may use it more effectively than others, but that doesn't change the fact that it's universally applicable. That being said, let's dive into something that's more unique to each of the characters: the Blast 2 techniques. Blast 2 techniques are a major factor in determining how strong a character is. In a way, they can make or break a character's competitive viability. Here's an example of a character who skyrockets to the top thanks to an extremely effective Blast 2, SS2 Gohan. While the moveset remains relatively the same between all three of his forms, his Super Saiyan 2 form has something really unique going for it: his super explosive Madan. So what's so special about his super attack? I mean, his first two forms also have it as a Blast 2. Why is his SSJ2 version considered superior? Although all three forms share the same attack, his Super Saiyan 2 variation features an enhanced version called the Super Explosive Madan. It has greater reach while still only costing 2 key bars, and if set up correctly, it can be almost impossible to avoid. I say almost impossible because you can technically avoid it, but it's not going to be easy. This is what a successful dodged Super Explosive Madan looks like.
Light is so beautiful. Oh, great.
Let me quickly explain what happened here. The player who was controlling Turles is Hawk, and this man performed 6 perfectly timed vanishes. That's why this attack is so good. See, the only way to dodge it is to vanish, and vanishing has a strict time window. Performing a singular vanish on a super attack is challenging. 2 is even harder. Now imagine doing it 6 times. He also has solid melee options and a distinctive Ki cannon that is unblockable during its initial combo string. Usually, you would be able to block a Ki cannon combo, but for some reason, Gohan's combo is not only unblockable, but also features an animation strikingly similar to the Blaster Wave. His arch nemesis, Dabura, is, oddly enough, also considered top tier. In fact, he ranks slightly higher than Gohan. In a similar manner, he is also carried by his Blast 2s. The Evil Impulse is an extremely effective super that only consumes 2 key bars. And not only that, his Evil Flame, despite costing 3 bars, can be used to nullify your opponent's supers and deal a solid 8.5k damage. But wait, it gets even better. On top of these 2 amazing utilities, he also has After Image as a Blast 1. Now, I'm not sure if I've mentioned this before, but After Image is probably the best utility move a character can have in their moveset, as it essentially grants you Ultra Instinct. He also has unblockable Charged Ki Blast, which are extremely useful in a casual setting. However, at higher levels of play, you won't see many people using them since they knock the opponent down, essentially giving them a free chance to recover. Overall, a really solid pick. His master, Babidi, isn't someone you'd typically expect to find among the top tier characters. To begin with, he has 1 less health bar than most of the cast, putting him at a significant disadvantage. His melee options aren't particularly strong, and they aren't very reliable either. However, there's a reason his melee skills are lacking. It's because he's a Ki Blast specialist. His charged Ki Blasts have a unique ability. They can paralyze the opponent for a good second. Once the Ki Blast hits, you'll be frozen in place, and that's when Babidi's abilities really come into play. He has a cheap Blast 2 rush that only costs 2 key bars, making it easy to spam. Basically, just fire a charged Ki Blast, make sure it connects, and once it does, spam his low-cost rush super attack. That's essentially Babidi's bread and butter. Since he lacks solid melee options, relying on Ki Blasts is your best strategy. You'll hardly ever see a Babidi player charge in for an attack, and if they do, it's probably just a feint. Now, base Gotenks is quite an interesting pick. He ranks much higher than both his Super and Super Saiyan 3 forms, even though SSJ3 Gotenks can instantly shred through super armor, while base Gotenks can't shred through super armor, which is a bit of a bummer. He makes up for it in other areas. Unlike Super Saiyan 3, base Gotenks has After Image, and as you already know, After Image is one of the best utilities a character can have. He has a safe, unblockable Ki cannon in his first string and can easily combo or reset after a rush ender. And by the way, a rush ender is a basic combo you perform when you press square 5 times. One of the best aspects of his kit is the ability to follow up on his Blast 2 rush attack. His high-speed rush knocks the opponent close enough, leaving them wide open for punishment. Combine all of this with one of the fastest dash speeds in the game, and you have a strong top-tier contender. Vegito is arguably among the top 5 strongest characters in BT3. He has a very effective Blast 2, the Scatter Finger Beam, which costs just 2 key bars. But the cheap cost isn't the only good thing about it. When set up correctly, the finger beams become unvanishable. The setup can be as straightforward as performing a heavy finish and immediately launching the finger beams, or as complex as canceling a lift strike combo, spamming the opponent with a key barrage and then launching the finger beams. Paige has a good tutorial if you want to see all the variations. Vegito also has great Blast 1 utility techniques, such as Explosive Wave and Finish Sign, along with strong melee options and hard-hitting key blasts. Both base Vegito and Super Vegito have an unblockable Ki cannon in their first string. And speaking of Super Vegito, similar to base Vegito, many of the melee options and key blast tech were carried over. While he doesn't have the finger beams, he does have something unique. His Sword Slash knocks the opponent directly beneath Vegito, making it relatively easy to follow up with a Giant Throw. Here comes the fun part. Performing a Giant Throw will send your opponent flying, and they won't be able to recover until they hit the ground. However, if you're fast enough, you can reach the opponent just as they hit the ground and chain another Giant Throw. Add a charged Ki Blast between each of the Giant Throws and you got yourself some decent damage output. Your opponent can't vanish this. They will be forced to do an emergency blaster wave or use one of their utility moves to break out of the loop. He boasts exceptional defensive options with Explosive Wave and After Image, an additional health bar, and high speed. Many consider Vegito to be the ultimate fusion in Tenkaichi 3, but is he really? Gogeta. There are 2 versions of Gogeta, and only one of them is considered truly top tier. Can you guess which one? As much as I like the original Gogeta, he just doesn't quite measure up compared to the other fusions. His Blast 1 abilities and Blast 2 supers are pretty underwhelming. That doesn't mean he's bad. Oh no, he's still a high tier character. It's just that he isn't all that impressive when compared to other fused warriors. Well, what about Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta? GT Gogeta was always regarded as a strongest and most overpowered character in every game he appeared in, including Tenkaichi 3. But how accurate is that claim? Surprisingly, it's pretty accurate. Similar to Super Gogeta, he does suffer from a lack of good Blast 1 utilities. I mean, Wild Sense is alright. The biggest issue with it is that you can't really control when the Vanish will pop off. Power up to the very limit is good, but he would have benefited from better defensive Blast 1s. And yeah, that's pretty much where his downside and let's get right into the good stuff. SS4 Gogeta has the best RRC in the whole game. Now, what is an RRC, you may ask? RRC stands for Rush Reset Combo, and with a name like that, you can probably guess what it involves. RRC is a tech discovered in late 2018 by the top European player, Paige. Rush Reset Combo allows you to continue your combos without breaking the combo counter. In other words, you can continue chaining combos safely without worrying about getting vanished or having your attacks blocked. So how does Gogeta's RRC work? Essentially, you need to execute a Ki cannon combo, followed by 4 presses of the punch button and then a brief pause. This brief pause is essential as it is where the actual combo reset part happens. If you mess up the timing, the combo counter will break and your opponent could potentially break free. However, if the timing is right, no amount of guard spamming will save them. You'll be able to take away an entire health bar for free. Certain other characters also have access to a rush reset, but Gogeta's is by far the most powerful and among the easiest to perform. Gogeta's attacks are extremely fast and, most importantly, they hit like a truck. Similar with his Blast 2s, his Rush Super might not be the perfect rush move due to its lack of tracking, but if it does connect, it will hit hard. That's essentially Gogeta's entire gimmick. Fast and powerful attacks that leave your opponent with little to no breathing room. Unfortunately, he does suffer from a lack of defensive options, which is why some players prefer to place him below Vegito. But I'll give him a pass to the S+ tier, since the opinions are pretty split. Gogeta might have the fastest attacks in the game, but does he have the fastest attacks in the universe? Enter Burter. Burter is a top 3 contender for the strongest character in Tenkaichi 3. His movement speed is at the highest level, only being rivaled by Cell Saga Trunks. His first melee hit is one of the fastest in the game and has super long reach thanks to his size. He has an extremely powerful super attack that can become unvanishable with the right setup, i.e. a -1 setup. Additionally, he boasts exceptionally strong Blast 1 utilities, including After Image and a power-up to the max at a cost of mere 2 blast stocks. Thanks to his quick ascending/descending movement, he excels at semi-flanking. Additionally, his recoveries from unsafe choices are exceptionally quick, making them difficult to punish. The developers fully embrace the fastest in the universe thing, resulting in the creation of one of the game's strongest characters. However, he's not perfect. He struggles in matchup against characters with super armor, and unfortunately for him, a particular super armored character is among the top picks in the game. Broly is a monster.
Broly is not a monster. Broly is the devil.
As many of you are already aware, he possesses super armor, which means that characters below the Super Saiyan 3 power threshold cannot break his armor with a single hit. Super armor is typically reserved for giants, and Broly too, I guess. He essentially has all the benefits of being a giant, without any of the drawbacks that come with it. I mean, his speed could be a bit faster, but that would make him truly broken. He boasts the highest defense in the game, the maximum number of health bars, and extremely powerful Blast 2 supers. His key blasts may not have the great range, but they still pack a punch and easily stun opponents when they land. The combos are highly damaging, and he has 2 extremely safe combo options, the Blaster Wave and the Rush Key Wave. And there's also an Explosive Wave as a last resort option, a demon of a character, with speed being his only drawback. And unfortunately for Broly, speed is not something you want to be lacking, and that's the only thing keeping Broly away from becoming number 1. Androids can't use the key charge mechanic to replenish their energy. Instead, they rely on the game to passively do the charging for them. In most cases, this is a good thing. You can effectively apply pressure on your opponent while simultaneously replenishing your key bar. Unfortunately, this doesn't benefit all of them, as their lackluster kits can't fully utilize this mechanic. However, as with everything, there are always exceptions. Super Android 13 rises to the high tiers primarily due to his powerful Blast 2, TS's Deadly Bomber, as well as having an extra health bar. 18 doesn't have an extra health bar, but compensates with her speed and quicker key recovery. Additionally, she has good defensive options, as well as an unblockable Blast 2, which is never a bad thing. Super 17 barely scrapes the semi-top tier due to his energy absorption ability. He particularly excels against top characters like SSJ2 Gohan, who frequently use their cheap Blast 2 super. His Hellstorm is a pretty good move that's hard to vanish, since you would need to chain maybe like 10 vanishes, I believe. Its only drawback is its steep cost of 4 key bars. Overall, he's a good option, but oddly enough, his non-fused counterpart is considerably stronger. Android 17 is a killing machine. And no, I'm not just saying that because it's part robot. I'm saying that because it straight up dominates in almost every matchup. 17 has one of the best Blast 2 super attacks, if not the best. His full power energy balls have a very low key cost and are incredibly easy to set up for unvanishable -1 setups. In fact, he has so many that Paige made a whole video breaking down each of them. I recommend giving it a look if you want to learn more. He has very fast passive key regeneration, powerful melee attacks, and highly effective flying kicks due to their quick animation. They also have a wide reach. Oh, did I forget to mention that he fires 2 energy balls and both of them are homing? And here's the best part. You have to perform 2 perfectly timed vanishes to avoid the attack. Because if you only vanish once, the second energy ball will smack you in the face. Arale is an odd one. She's a gimmicky gag character and generally not someone you'd expect to find in the top tiers. But here we are. She has extremely high damage output in both her combos and blast 2s. With fast recoveries, she's tough to punish, and she can even replenish her health thanks to her excited blast 1 utility. And as many of you likely know by now, she can easily shred through super armored characters. Unfortunately, Arale has 2 major drawbacks. She can't fly, which is a significant disadvantage in a meta where movement is crucial. Additionally, she can't use Ki Blast, so Ki poking is off the table. And while she only has these 2 issues, they are significant enough to prevent her from reaching the top tiers. For a character often treated as a joke, Yamcha is actually pretty alright in BT3. His solid defensive utility with After Image and a low-cost blast to rush attack work well in his favor. While these strengths don't elevate him to top tier status, they do help him just barely reach the high tiers. Frieza has a lot of forms in this game, 6 to be exact, and out of those 6 forms, only 2 are considered competitively viable. Unlike in the anime where he progressively gets stronger with each transformation, in Tenkaichi 3, well, it's kind of the opposite. All of his canonical strongest forms fall into the mid tiers, whereas the weakest forms shine. First form Frieza is decent, nothing special. But this third form on the other hand, similar to Babidi, he excels at Ki Blast spamming, which to be fair is highly accurate to the source material. His charged Ki Blasts are among the strongest in the game. Moreover, they have impressive tracking properties, allowing the blasts to connect seamlessly even if you're standing directly below or above the enemy. You can use his high tension utility to buff those Ki Blasts even more. A single dash spam would net you more than 5,000 damage when high tension is stacked to the max. Granted, you'll rarely be able to stack it that much. Even with limited stacking, they can still pull some big numbers. He has good melee tools, decent dash speed, and a cheap blast too. Oh yeah, there's also the explosive wave as a last resort defensive option. His Ki Blast spam can be effectively countered by skilled players, but then again, the same could be said for many other characters. Overall, a strong character who just barely qualifies for the top tier. SS for Gogeta isn't the only Super Saiyan 4 in the S tier. Both SS for Goku and Vegeta are also firmly positioned side by side in the S tier. Vegeta has excellent Ki Blast utility, mainly because he can fire off 10 Ki Blasts in a single Ki barrage, while most of the other characters are limited to just 3 to 5. He also has arguably one of the most unique and strongest throws in the game. His throws are dangerous, primarily because they leave the opponent's back exposed. And as most of you know, having your backside exposed is never a good thing in any game, especially in this one. Combine all of that with strong melee attacks, high damage supers, an explosive wave as a defensive option, and you've got a character worthy of top tier placement. Alright, what about Goku? Goku functions similarly to Vegeta, but without the heavy reliance on Ki Blasts. SS for Goku has an unblockable Ki cannon, and since his step-in is also a Ki cannon, it's safe to use. He has effective Ki Blasts for poking, impressive dash speed, and strong melee options. His blast win utilities aren't very impressive. Instant transmission isn't worth the cost, but I'll beat you in 5 seconds can be quite useful. As the name suggests, it boosts your damage for 5 seconds. While that may not seem like much time, you can make excellent use of it by chaining it with Meteor Crash to achieve some impressive numbers. Chiaotzu is typically not the character you'd expect to see in a high tier position. He takes more damage than others due to his defense being roughly 50% weaker than the rest of the cast. He generally lacks damage, and while his supers have a low cost, they could use more damage. Additionally, he spawns into battle with 1 less health bar than everyone else. Given all these drawbacks, how can he be even remotely close to A tier? Well, he has extremely fast melee animations and exceptionally good rush reset combos. His after image utility and fast character switching speed also play play a significant role. This means that you can quickly get into battle, do a little dance, shoot some supers, and switch out. His paralysis utility is also a neat addition. Kid Trunks is in a similar position to Chiaotzu. He spawns with one less health bar than everyone else, takes more damage, but he compensates with speed. Super Saiyan Kid Trunks gains a slight damage boost. He loses after image utility, but gains explosive wave instead. Additionally, he acquires a cheap Blasty Super. His switching speed is roughly 30% slower than Chiaotzu's, which may make him slightly worse in comparison, I suppose. Kid Buu is a beast, in the most literal sense of the word. Many people think he's only effective because of his rush attacks, and while his rush is strong, it's not the only reason he's so good. Buu has incredible movement speed and powerful melee options, but the best part is that, in addition to being strong, his melee attacks are just as fast and unpredictable as his movement speed. The only part of his kit that could potentially be considered weak is his heavy smash, but the rest of his combos, speed. His flying kicks are lightning fast. Same with his ground slash and lift strike. It's not just that they're fast, they're also hard to predict due to the animations they use. Here's a cool tech. His grab attacks have some solid reach, allowing you to easily grab the opponent and send them flying. Then you can quickly perform a regular dash to position yourself behind them. It might take a few attempts to get the movement down, but once you do, it's gonna be well worth it. This tech lets you get behind your opponent effortlessly, enabling you to dish out some big numbers. This grab to dashing behind the opponent tech isn't exclusive to Kid Buu, but he's one of the characters that can pull it off with ease thanks to his speed. A beast of a character. His only downside is a lack of decent defensive utilities. SS2 Teen Gohan is another fan favorite, often considered one of the stronger characters during the good old couch co-op days. Everyone liked his Beyblade-esque melee combos and his cheap Super Kamehameha, and in a casual setting, he definitely gets the job done. However, when it comes to the comp scene, to put it bluntly, he's not good. I mean, he can be good, but it requires significantly more effort to fully utilize his potential. His combos aren't as fast compared to others, and while his Blast 2 is useful due to its low cost, it lacks effective, unvanishable -1 setups. Although the Explosive Wave is a good defensive option in theory, it can be punished at higher levels of play. Oh, and he also has 10% less defense compared to everyone else. Paige actually prefers his Super Saiyan form because it's essentially the same character, but with several advantages. SS1 Gohan has significantly higher combo damage, a homing super rush, and a flying kick as his first combo option, which is better for applying pressure compared to SS2's heavy smash, which is easily blocked or dodged. Now, this doesn't mean you shouldn't play him. Oh no, play whoever you have the most fun with. Due to the nature of this video's topic, I do have to mention the downsides of a character as well. The goal of the video is to explain where characters excel and where they fall short after all. And with all that said, I think it's time to talk about a character who doesn't have any flaws. In what seems to be the most hilarious coincidence ever, the game's strongest character, who's also the most versatile and well-rounded, is none other than the one famously known as the perfect life form. Even more amusing, his own arena is also considered the perfect stage to fight on. While his perfect form is by far the strongest, first and second form aren't all that bad themselves. And ironically, his super perfect form is by far the weakest. Alright, let's get the obvious out of the way. Perfect Cell has insane melee tools. He has a blaster wave on his second hit and flying kicks as a step in. He has after image and an explosive wave as his blast 1 utilities. In other words, the perfect utilities. His dash speed is near the tippity top, and his blast 2 finger beams are insane. At a small cost of 2 key bars, Cell can dish out dozens of laser accurate beams of death. What makes his finger barrage beams so effective is the fact that you would have to perform multiple perfectly timed vanishes in order to dodge. In theory, it's dodgeable, but in practice, not so much. Even if the chances are slim, wouldn't it be great to have a full 100% guarantee on the attack? Said a Cell player probably. Why yes, that would be great. How about 20 different guaranteed variations? Cell has so many -1 setups with his finger beams, it's not even funny. If you want to see all of them, here's a very easy to follow video by Paige. However, there's one setup he didn't include in this video, and according to him, it's his most effective setup. Here's how it looks like. He also has a strong RRC. The man just has everything going for him. He may not be able to break Broly's super armor, but the thing is, he doesn't need to. Remember that clip with Burter and Broly? Yeah, Cell is just as fast. No wonder he stands in a literal league of his own. You might have noticed that we're nearing the end of the video, and there are still many characters I haven't mentioned yet. I mean, the game's 150 plus characters, and I only covered like half maybe. This is because every character I haven't mentioned yet falls into either the unviable category or the mid category. Fittingly, Goku Mid lives up to his name, as he truly is mid. The main reason so many characters end up in this single tier isn't necessarily because they're all bad, though admittedly some are. This issue is more about their kits not being fully explored or utilized. In the right hands, nearly any character can perform at a top tier level. Well, maybe not every character, as some really are just that bad. However, a few of them could potentially go up a tier if used correctly. Hawk, for example, has been trying to optimize characters like Salsa and Nappa recently. While both characters are nowhere near the top tiers, he still plays them because they're fun. And that's the main takeaway from this video. If any of you decide to step into the world of online Tenkaichi 3 after watching this video, I hope you play characters you actually enjoy. Who cares if they're not top tier? Save that for Sparking Zero. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and I implore you to check out both Paige's and Grandmaster Hawk's YouTube channels. They have some insane gameplay related Tenkaichi 3 content, and I think you'll enjoy it. Without their help, this video wouldn't be possible. That's all for me. See you in the next one.